This is for all witnesses, so we'll start here and go down. I'm very supportive of advanced renewable energy technologies and clean energy technologies like nuclear energy, for example. It is clear to me that fossil fuels will be an important part of the U.S. energy portfolio for years to come. Since many of you have touched on this issue in your prepared testimonies and remarks, I'm interested to know what each of you say to those who would believe that we should not invest in clean energy R&D for the fossil fuel sector and instead funnel all of our research and development money into renewable energy technologies. What do you think about that, Doctor?
So we've given it a lot of thought. Being in Houston, being partnered with many of the industry here, we believe that there are no silver bullet solutions. It's an all-of-the-above strategy that has to operate. We believe that the fossil industry, it is not the hydrocarbon that is the problem. It is what comes out of that tailpipe that's perhaps a problem. And even that we dispute. We think that there are creative ways in which CO2 can be utilized and therefore should not be considered even a waste. I think there's a really interesting way to perhaps find a way to use that CO2 and be economically advantaged. So short answer, absolutely not that we should be picking the technology solutions. I think we identify the challenge, which is we need to be protecting the environment.
Thank you. So we'll coin a new phrase then today based on that. The old phrase, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. This will be when life make margaritas. What, it's 5 o'clock somewhere. Is that that's? But the new phrase is when life gives you CO2, make energy. Dr. Long.
Yeah, I agree with my colleague. I'd also add that you know, the task of converting all of this energy infrastructure to renewable sources, there's no way we can do it without taking decades, particularly in developing countries where they'll always use the cheapest source of fuel. In addition, even if we could convert immediately to renewable sources of energy, we have the problem of the current CO2 levels in our atmosphere, and a lot of projections of not increasing temperatures on our planet involve CO2 capture from air. And so we need to pursue this technology for many different reasons.
Thank you. Mr. Kennedy?
Yes, just echoing the same comments that were made. So renewables are very important, but they are, as you mentioned, fossil energy is not going to go away anytime soon.
Right.
So to the extent that we can continue the R&D efforts to negate some of the impact of those fossil fuels, I think we're all better off by doing that.
Well, they're still developing horizontal fracking and drilling and becoming better and better and better at that. And I would postulate that also they're getting better at capturing all the things that come out of that process. So, Mr. Dewing?
I think we've proven that you can store CO2 for the long term, thousands of years underground. That's where the fossil fuels came from. We can return it there safely and take the benefit of those fossil fuel energy for the foreseeable future. And I think we need to maintain the world's energy requirements.
Okay. Mr. Genby?
Definitely, it's not a race to renewables. It's really a race to lower emissions in energy. And
good point.
Of course, you know, fossil fuels and thermal power generation is a great partner to renewables within the grid, providing flexible backup to intermittency that naturally occurs within those renewable energy forms. So really, it's really about a partnership, I think, and an all-of-the-above energy solution. And of course, cost is a major, you know, consideration for consumers with the choices that there is within the energy supply.
Okay, thank you. I've just got a couple of minutes left, so I'm going to go back to you, Mr. Dewing. In your prepared testimony, I like how you highlighted these questions. Where will the CO2 go? You just mentioned the ground for thousands of years. You don't look that old. You said you proved that you could do it.
Well,
and who will pay for it? Now you and Mr. Kennedy have both explored various answers to these questions this morning, but since we are on the Science Committee, we want to hear more about the science of this process. So first, from an industry perspective, I'd like to hear more from both of you about the technical challenges associated with the placement of captured CO2. In your opinion, what are the major barriers associated with this end of getting the CCUS pathway that can be addressed with our help through basic science, research and development. Mr. Kennedy, we'll start with you.
Yeah, sure, and thank you. Let me just give you a few examples of the technical challenges that I think would be helpful through additional R&D. You know, the behavior and the impact of amines and large-scale carbon capture projects and equipment, including the degradation rates and the effect on carbon capture systems. The effects of higher operating temperatures on critical equipment. As was mentioned, location matters. We are, given the ambient conditions here in the Houston area, cooling capacity is a very, very important part of the process. We use some of the largest heat exchangers that manufacturers make. So it's very important to continue the R&D efforts to improve upon that. The optimizing vessel sizes, and we have some very large vessels that were done in our first-of-a-kind facility. Additional R&D to drive capital out to see if you can right-size or properly size those vessels. Then outside of our technology, just expanding technologies. Capture of waste CO2 from other large sources, including natural gas, direct air, and then just also furthering our knowledge in EOR, looking at unconventional reservoirs and different geologies and how CO2 interacts in those.
I think the key issue we face is the efficiency of removal. If you're using lots more energy to remove that CO2, then it's running away with you. So we have processes that work. We've got an absorption process that we think is a world beater, and we're looking forward to do that. We want to improve that. We have heat exchange issues as well. Some of the temperatures we're experiencing, some of the approaches on those heat exchangers need a lot of development too. So we'd like help with investment to continue to improve our efficiency, improve the processes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I yield back.
Thank you, Mr. Weber.